God is speaking to you tonight. And the reason this message found you is because there is something He has been trying to say to the part of you that stopped listening. You prayed about that relationship. You trusted God with your heart. And when it still broke, when the prayer you prayed with everything you had seemed to return, empty, something inside you quietly stopped listening for Him, not dramatically, not with anger, not with a declaration, just quietly, carefully. The way you close a window when it starts to rain. You did not stop believing. You stopped expecting. And God has been standing at that closed window ever since. Tonight, He is not knocking loudly. He is not demanding. He is not offering a theological explanation for what happened. He just wants you to know He has not gone anywhere. And there is something He has been trying to say to the specific, tired, carefully managed version of you that showed up here tonight. Stivus me. Because by the end of this prayer, you may not have every answer, but you will know what to do with the silence you have been carrying. This is for the woman who still believes, but no longer expects much. This is for the woman who can encourage everyone else, but no longer knows how to let God encourage her. This is for the woman who has learned how to keep going, but has forgotten how to be held. This is for the woman who still loves God, but quietly wonders why He allowed what broke her. I want to name something that almost nobody names. There is a specific spiritual injury that happens to women who have loved deeply and been hurt deeply. And here is where most women misunderstand what happened to them spiritually. It is not loss of faith, is not angehoudenes IT is distance. A careful, managed, functional distance between you and the God you used to run to. You still go to church. You still pray, technically. You still read the verse of the day. You still say God is good when someone asks how you are doing. But the intimacy is gone. The rushing dash to dash God dash at dash to AM is gone. The desperate, raw, unfiltered conversations with Him that used to happen in your car, those stopped. The journal entries that read like letters to someone who knew you completely, those dried up. And you told yourself it was maturity, that you had grown past emotional, dramatic faith, that you were more grounded now. But here is the truth you have been protecting yourself from. You stopped running to God because the last time you ran to Him fully, vulnerable, open, asking, the answer you received felt like rejection, not from a man, from God. What broke your heart also changed the way you heard heaven. The relationship ended, but the deeper wound was what it made you believe about God. You were not only grieving a person, you were grieving the version of faith that believed God would not let it end that way. When that relationship broke, or when the person you believed God was bringing into your life turned out to be someone who damaged you, a part of your heart filed a silent complaint against heaven. I trusted you with this, and it went wrong. And later in this prayer, I am going to give a name to the grief you have not known how to explain. Because what happened to you was not only emotional, it was spiritual. And once you name it, it starts losing power. But first, let me say what nobody else has said clearly enough. He was not silent. You were drowning in so much noise, the noise of survival, the noise of pretending. The noise of rebuilding a life that looked whole on the outside, that his voice got buried underneath it, he has been speaking. Tonight, he needs you to listen. This is one of the ways God is speaking to you tonight. Father, even now, touch the part of her heart that stopped listening because it was tired of hurting. Let her know tonight that she is not being accused. She is being invited home. Touch the specific place where hope began to feel dangerous, where trust became too expensive, where the desire for you got buried under the weight of disappointment. She is still here, and that matters in Jesus' name. But survival has a cost nobody talks about. Let me describe the life you have been living inside the distance. You became very good at functioning, not living fully. Functioning, doing what needs to be done, showing up, performing the routines of a person who is okay. And on the surface, this looks like healing. But functioning is not the same as being whole. There is a version of surviving that looks like thriving until someone asks the right question at the right moment and the whole architecture trembles. The question is not, are you okay? You have answered that 1,000 times and you know exactly how to say yes. The question is, when did you last feel genuinely safe? Not safe in the practical sense. Safe in the way that only happens when something in you fully relaxes, when you are not monitoring, not managing, not bracing for what comes next. When did you last feel that? When did you stop expecting God to answer gently? When did prayer become something you managed instead of something you entered? When did you start calling numbness maturity? When did you decide that needing comfort made you weak? If the answer to any of those is I don't remember, that is not resilience. That is the fingerprint of a woman who has been running her own life on manual for so long she has forgotten what it felt like to be held. You did not stop loving God. You stopped feeling safe enough to need Him. Hope hurt you so deeply that caution started to feel holy. You did not become cold. You became careful. And the door you closed was not rebellion. It was protection. Here is what you have been doing. You developed a kind of spiritual practicality, enough God to feel comforted. Not enough surrender to risk disappointment. You pull back from people before they can leave first. You keep your emotions at a manageable level, never too hopeful, never too invested, because the last time you went all in it nearly undid you. You have built a life that functions. And you have done all of this without fully realizing it. Because it happened gradually, over months, over years, piece by piece. The woman who used to cry in worship and mean every word slowly became the woman who stands in worship and feels nothing. That does not mean your faith is gone. It means you are exhausted, and God knows the difference. Do not ignore this moment just because it feels quiet. This is God speaking to the part of you that learned to manage Him from a distance. Now listen carefully. Because this may change the way you remember the season you thought God was silent. God's silence is never absence. It is sometimes restraint. The careful holding back of a parent who sees that you are not yet ready to hear what he needs to say, not because you are not capable, but because the ground of your heart is not yet prepared for the seed. And sometimes his silence is not silence at all. It is a frequency you are no longer tuned to receive. When you are functioning in survival mode, when the primary directive of your heart is manage the pain. Protect yourself. Stay upright. Your entire being narrows. Your attention narrows. Your emotional range narrows. Your spiritual perception narrows. That is why even when the room is quiet, you are not quiet inside. That is why rest feels suspicious. That is why peace can feel unfamiliar after you have lived braced for too long. It is not a character flaw. It is what a heart does to protect itself from further damage. But in that narrowed state, the whisper cannot get through. The still small voice, the one Elijah heard not in the wind, not in the earthquake, not in the fire, but in the sound of sheer silence, that voice requires a specific kind of interior quiet to receive, and you have been anything but quiet inside. So, what has God been doing? He has been creating moments. The friend who called on the exact day you needed a voice that was not coincidence. That was coordination. The sermon that addressed the precise thing you had been wrestling with privately. The thing you told no one, that was not the pastor being perceptive. That was God using available material to reach you. The moment of unexpected beauty, the sunrise, the song, the child's laugh that cut through the numbness for 3 seconds and made something in you ache for something more. That ache was not nostalgia. That was your spirit recognizing His presence passing nearby. He has not been silent. He has been meeting you at the edges of your closed doors, leaving small signs in the margins of your carefully managed life. God is not trying to impress you tonight. He is trying to reach you. And now I need to tell you what He has been trying to say, not in general terms, not in the language of church comfort. The specific thing, here it is. The version of you that was hurt, that version was real. The pain was real. The prayers that felt unanswered were real. The wound that formed when what you believed in fell apart was real. But God does not need you to undo that version of yourself in order to come back to Him. He is not waiting for the pre-pain version of you. The version before the disappointment, before the distance, before you learned how to protect yourself. He wants the one who learned to brace. The one with the scar tissue. The one who got practical. The one who cried in her car and then fixed her face and walked into work. The one who serves others and never lets anyone see the hollow place in the middle of her own chest. He is not looking past her. He is looking directly at her. You are not too damaged for intimacy with God. You are exactly the daughter He came to restore. And He has something to say to that woman specifically. You have been treating your own damage as disqualification. As if the distance you put between yourself and God means He moved. As if the numbness means you forfeited something. As if the fact that you went through something that shook your faith means you are now too complicated for the simple grace you used to know. You were not disqualified. You were depleted. And depleted daughters do not get cast out of their father's house. They get brought in and fed and allowed to rest until the strength comes back. The prodigal story, the one everyone quotes about returning to God, the detail nobody highlights is this: the father saw the son while he was still a great way off. He did not wait for the son to arrive at the doorstep cleaned up and rehearsed and ready. He ran toward him while he was still covered in the evidence of everything he had been through. God is not waiting for you to get yourself together. He is already running toward you. tonight, right now. In the middle of the mess, you have been managing alone. Please do not dismiss this as emotion. This may be the very place he is speaking. This next part may be uncomfortable, but it may also be the door back. There is something you have been doing that has been keeping you in the distance. And it is not the wound. The wound was done to you. This was done by you. You have been waiting for God to prove himself before you open back up. You may not have framed it that way, but that is what the distance is. A test, a silent ultimatum, a holding back of full surrender until you see evidence that it is safe. God, I will trust you again when I see that this isn't going to hurt again. God, I will open up again when I see where this is going. God, I will pray like I used to when I have something to show for the last round of praying. That is not faith. That is a contract. And God does not do contracts. He does covenants. The difference, a contract says I will give you this if you give me that. A covenant says I am committed to you regardless of what you bring to the table, but it requires you to be actually present at the table. You have been standing outside the room, close enough to peer in, far enough to deny that you are waiting. And God is asking you not to perform a stronger faith, not to manufacture feelings you do not have, not to pretend the hurt did not happen. He is asking for your honest presence, the one that walks in and says, I do not fully trust this yet. I got hurt the last time I opened up. I do not know how to do this without protecting myself. I am not sure I know how to be vulnerable with you again. That prayer, raw, real, uncertain, is more precious to him than the performative faith of a woman who has it all figured out. He would rather have your honest doubt than your practiced Sunday morning composure. The part of you that survived is not the part of you that has to lead forever. God is not asking you to erase the wound. He is asking you to stop hiding it from him. Come as you are, not as you think you should be. I want to go deeper into something most people never talk about. When you go through a painful loss, a relationship that collapsed, a betrayal that cut to the bone, it does not just hurt your heart. It rewires how you hear God. Most women never notice this rewiring happened. They just wonder why prayer feels different now, why worship feels flat, why the Bible verses that used to land with power now land like information. The reason, the same heart that received the pain is the heart that receives spiritual truth. And when that heart learned in the deepest, most cellular way, that opening up leads to destruction, it began filtering everything through that knowledge, including God's voice. So when God speaks words of love, you are loved, you are chosen, you are pursued. Something inside you immediately runs that through the filter, but that's what I believed before. And look what happened. When God speaks promise, there is more ahead. I have not forgotten you. The filter says you believed that too. So the words land, but they do not penetrate. They stay on the surface of your mind without ever reaching the place that actually needs to change. It is like trying to pour water into a jar with the lid still on. The water is real. The jar is real. But something between the two has not yet been opened. This is not a spiritual failure. This is an injury. Specifically, it is the injury of a heart that learned to protect itself and does not yet know that protection from God is not needed. Healing, this is not about trying harder to believe. Healing, this is a surgery. The kind where you bring the exact place that got hurt, not around it, not adjacent to it, but the specific, tender. Stillenhieltet, not manager IT, not explained. Not give you theological context for why it happened. Touch IT. The way Jesus touched the leper. Not with instructions about how to get better. With his hand, directly, on the thing everyone else had been afraid to go near. What part of your heart have you not let God touch since it happened? His voice may not sound dramatic tonight, but it is still his voice. I need to show you something. In the middle of the season you called silence. In the middle of the months you spent surviving, rebuilding, functioning. Something was also growing. Something you have not given yourself credit for. You are stronger than you were before the breaking. Not because breaking makes people strong. That is a lie that spiritualizes trauma, and I will not repeat it. But because yours shows every single day in the aftermath to keep going. Ense choi piti daily, in the absence of a garant, is the definition of faith in its most undecorated form. You did not give up. Even when you felt nothing. Even when the prayers felt like talking to the ceiling. Even when you watched other women get what you had been praying for. And had to make the decision, quietly, to keep believing that God had not forgotten you specifically. Set decision unglamorous, untestified about, made on ordinary Tuesdays is the evidence, not of a perfect faith, of a faithful woman. And here is the revelation he wants you to receive tonight. The strength you built in the silence is not separate from his work. IT is his work. He was not absent while you were rebuilding. He was the foundation the rebuilding happened on. The capacity you have to still be standing after what you went through, that did not come from your willpower alone. That is the grace you were not tracking because it did not look like the answer you asked for. It looked like getting up, like making coffee, like driving to work. Like choosing, on days when hope felt delusional, to remain alive to the possibility of something better. That is God in you, even in the season that felt like his absence. He never fugiet see. This is God speaking to you tonight, through the evidence of your own survival that you have been too tired to notice. But God is not only speaking to your pain tonight, He is speaking to your identity. One of the most silent casualties of emotional pain is the way it dismantles a woman's understanding of herself. Not all at once, slowly. You used to know, with bone-deep certainty, who you were, what you stood for, what kind of woman you intended to be. And then someone, or a series of someone's, treated you in a way that contradicted that knowledge. And instead of concluding that their treatment was wrong, something in you concluded that maybe you were wrong about yourself. Maybe you overestimated your worth. Maybe the woman you thought you were, deserving of deep love, of genuine care, of a relationship that did not require her to make herself smaller to survive. Maybe that woman was a fantasy. I am here to dismantle that. The woman who survived is not the full picture of who you are. She is the evidence of who you are. The woman who held it together, when it fell apart, she is not your permanent state. She is your testimony of endurance. And endurance is not your identity. It is your credential. Your identity was established before the pain got a vote, before he decided you were not enough. before the relationship proved to be something less than what you believed, before the wound, before the distance, before the managed life and the closed door and the functioning, before all of that, you were chosen. Chosen the way a potter chooses clay before the vessel is shaped, not for what it will become, for what it already is. You are not who the pain made you. You are who God made you. And those are different women. It is time, tonight, for you to begin living as the second one. Now, I want you to listen as if these words were being spoken directly over the hidden room of your heart. If you have heard nothing else until now, hear this as personally as you can. My daughter, I am speaking to you tonight, not through a sermon, not through a verse you have read before. Through this moment, this specific, unrepeatable moment when you were tired enough of managing and quiet enough to listen, I have been trying to reach you for longer than you know. Not because I need something from you, because I see what you have been carrying and I cannot watch you carry it alone for one more night without saying something. I see the version of you that shows up for everyone. The version that holds it together at work, at church, with your family, with your friends. The version that has an answer when someone needs help. A smile when someone needs encouragement. A steady presence when everyone around her is falling apart. I see her. And I also see what she looks like when she is alone. I see what you look like at the end of a day when the performance is over and the house is quiet and there is nothing left to manage and the hollow place in the middle of your chest makes itself known again. That's it. And I need you to know the hollow place is not emptiness. It is the shape of something that belongs there. Something the world has not been able to give you. Something the relationship did not give you. Something achievement and service and functioning cannot fill. It is the shape of my presence. The specific, irreplaceable presence that was there before the wound, that remained during it, and that is here now, at the edge of your tiredness, at the border of your managed life, asking for space. I am not asking you to fix anything tonight. I am not asking you to perform a better faith. I am not asking you to feel something you do not feel. I am asking for honest presence. Come to me with the closed door and tell me about the closing. Come to me with the numbness and tell me when it started. Come to me with the distance and tell me what you were protecting when you created it, not because I do not know. Because saying it out loud, to me, in the quiet of tonight, is the first movement toward the healing you have been orbiting for months. I pray over the specific place in you that got hardened. Not the you that is strong, the you that is brittle. The part that does not bend anymore because it learned that bending leads to breaking. I touch that place, not to make you weak, to make you supple again. Supple the way living wood is supple, not easily broken because it can move. I pray over the prayers you stopped praying, the ones you used to bring to me about your future, the ones about love, about family, about the life you believed was possible. The prayers that got quieter and quieter after the disappointment until they went silent entirely. I received every one of those prayers, including the silence. The silence of a woman who wanted to pray but did not know how anymore. That silence is its own prayer, and I heard it every single night. I pray over your capacity to receive, not just on how to give. I pray over the part of you that does not know how to hold still and receive. The part that makes itself useful so it does not have to be vulnerable. The part that serves so it does not have to be served. Let me serve you tonight. Let me be the one who tends to you, not to the version of you that has it together, but to the version that does not, the version that is tired, the version that has questions without answers, the version that is not sure she knows how to go all the way back to the openness she had before the pain took it. Will meet you will always have. I pray over your future. Not the future as you have currently scaled it down to fit the size of your disappointment, the original future. The one I was writing for you before fear edited it. The one that includes love, real, chosen, seen, staying love. The one that includes purpose that feels alive. The one that includes a version of you who is not managing her own life alone but is walking in the company of the God who made her. Toward the things he prepared for her before the world began, that future is not cancelled. It is not behind schedule. It is being built on the other side of this night. In Jesus' name. And before this prayer closes, there is one more thing God is naming in you tonight. There is a name for what you have been carrying. And once you name it, it starts losing power. It is called spiritual grief. Spiritual grief is what happens when faith itself becomes a source of pain. When the God you ran to did not appear to stop what happened. When the prayers you prayed with such sincerity seemed to return empty. When the belief you offered so fully became the thing that made the disappointment deeper, because you would not have been so devastated if you had not been so hopeful. If you had not believed so strongly, it would not have hurt so much. So the faith itself became associated with the wound. And grieving a painful relationship is something people understand. Grief groups and therapists and well-meaning friends know how to sit with that. But grieving your own faith, grieving the version of yourself who believed so fully and got so hurt, that grief has almost nowhere to go. Because in Christian spaces, doubt is rarely welcomed. Questions are managed. The pain of unanswered prayer is quickly redirected to the comfort of Romans 8:28, but the grief remains. Underneath the theology, underneath the composure, underneath the functioning. And I want to say something to that grief tonight that almost no one will say to it. It is valid. Your grief about the faith that was shaken is valid. The confusion about how God could love you and allow that is valid. The anger you have been packaging as acceptance is valid. The loss of the spiritual intimacy you used to have, the ease with which you used to talk to God, the warmth with which His presence used to land, the loss of that is a real loss. And it deserves to be grieved, not spiritualized, not explained away. Grieved, and on the other side of that grief, once you have felt all of it, named all of it, brought it directly to God, on the other side is not emptiness. It is the specific, solid, unshakable faith of a woman who chose God not because everything was easy, but because she looked at the alternative, a life managed entirely from her own resources, navigated entirely alone, and decided that even in the uncertainty, even in pain, she would rather walk through it with Him than without Him. That faith is different from the faith you had before the breaking. It is better, not softer, not more comfortable, more real. The faith of a woman who has been tested is not the fragile. performance-dependent faith of someone who has never encountered darkness. It is the faith that knows what the dark looks like and chose the light anyway. You are becoming that woman. Tonight is part of that becoming. My daughter, I am not asking for a dramatic transformation tonight, not a recommitment ceremony. Not a promise you make to God that you are not sure you can keep. One small act of return. Here is what it looks like tonight, before you sleep, instead of the scrolling. Instead of the noise you use to fill the quiet, give God 5 honest minutes, not a polished prayer. The truth, tell him where the door closed. Tell him what still hurts. Tell him what you are afraid he will not answer. Tell him about the distance, the numbness, the questions that have no answers, the grief you have been carrying alone. That will be your first step home. He already knows all of it. But you telling him is the act of return. It is the one step back in the direction of the intimacy that was there before the damage. That step does not fix everything. It does not answer the unanswered questions. It does not erase the pain. But it reopens the channel. And once the channel is open, once you choose honest presence over managed distance, even for 5 minutes, he can begin the work that could not begin while the door was closed. Second, start paying attention to the margins. The moments I described, the song, the unexpected call, the 3 seconds of peace in the shower, start noticing them. Not as coincidences, as correspondence. As the God who loves you continuing to write to you letters in the language of ordinary life. Third, give yourself permission to not be fully healed yet. Healing does not have a schedule. God is not comparing your process to anyone else's. He is watching yours specifically, fully. You are allowed to still be in the middle. And you are allowed to let him meet you in the middle. That is not weakness, that is wisdom. My daughter, one last thing. The reason God is speaking to you tonight is not because you are in extraordinary crisis. It is because you are at an ordinary threshold. The threshold between the woman you became after the pain, managed, functional, self-sufficient, spiritually cautious, and the woman you were always meant to become. And if you have stayed this far, I believe this is the part God wanted you to hear most personally. Not the pre-pain woman, not the naive version, not the one who had not yet learned what the world could do. The version that holds all of that, the experience, the scars, the hard-won discernment, and brings it forward into the full. Press present och liv that God has believed for. That shall not next year. Not when the next thing works out. Not when you feel ready. Readiness is not the condition. Willingness is, are you willing? Are you willing to take 5 minutes tonight and open the door back up? Are you willing to let God speak to the version of you that nobody else gets to see? If you are, even a little, even uncertainly, even with your hand on the doorknob and your feet still planted on the outside, he is already on the other side. He has been there the whole time, not with impatience, not with a list of everything you did wrong in the distance. With the love of a father who stood at the window, watching the road every single day while his child was gone, and who, the moment you turned toward home, ran to meet you. You do not have to make it all the way back tonight. Just turniction. Set is enough that has been enough. Father, let her remember tonight that you were not silent, that you were meeting her at the edges of every closed door she built. Let her remember that functioning is not the same as being whole, and that the hollow place inside her is not emptiness but the shape of a presence that belongs there. Let her remember that she was not disqualified, she was depleted. And depleted daughters are not turned away, they are brought home and fed and allowed to rest. Let her remember that the wound she has been hiding from you is the exact place you came to touch. Let her remember that readiness is not the condition. Willingness is, and tonight ton or little. Even uncertainly, even with one hand still on the door, let her turn. And may she wake tomorrow knowing that you ran to meet her in the turning. In Jesus' name, I love you, your Father. If this prayer found the part of you that has been distant from God, type I am turning back in the comments, not for performance, as a small, honest act of return. Because sometimes the turning starts with a word, and God is listening. Remember this tonight. You did not stop loving God. You stopped feeling safe enough to need Him. You did not become cold. You became careful. And God is not asking you to make it all the way back tonight. Just turn. He is already there. He is listening.